I wasn't allowed to go to people's houses in the night, or I was scared to let people come in my house and spend the night. And I didn't ever know if he was going to have like an episode. Like when we have like episodes, we have to like run to the car and drive around till he passed out and sleep. You know, we would sleep back in the house. So I didn't ever know, like if I had friends stay over the weekend, like I didn't want them to be exposed to that, you know, because people pick on, you know, in school, people pick on, you know. So that around the time I was like 10 or 11, I just started like almost like being able to like take myself out of the situation and let another part of me be the one get molested. And that was when I came up with Harmony. And Harmony can like tell you about abuse and death. I try not to do it because I've stored it in a place far away. You know what I mean? But so I started let Harmony be the one be molested and not me. Because that way, if my friends ever ask me, you know, like, why come you can't come over? I could create like a perfect picture in my world that you can come over one day, it'll be great, we'll do this, we'll play ball, hang out. I didn't want them to go to that world where they had to know, like, who's living abuse. I was getting molested because my friends would have been like their moms and stuff like that would have been like, you need to tell somebody, you need to do this. So. And I was always scared of losing softball too, so that was like my outlet.
Sure. So you created Harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a personality, so did you create anyone else?
Remember I told you I lived in a trailer? That was in 1996. That was during the Olympics. The U.S. women's gymnastics team that won a gold medal. And that I played another personality during that. That's Christina Brianna, and she's friends with like Harry Strub, Dominique Dawes, and a bunch of people that are on the team. And like I had the whole trailer to myself, so she would like be able to like create apparatuses and like do like balance things off stuff, you know, like because maybe days my mom would be gone, you know, and so that was just the way I would cope with. No, and not knowing if my mom was ever going to take us back there. Because I knew she would. Every time she said she was never coming back, we'd go back. So that helped me through that year. Because I had to stay really good in school. You know what I mean? Because my plan was like to get out one day, you know, and do really good, which I did end up doing really good in school. You know, I have a doctorate degree. But like, if it wasn't for being able to use those different, I guess you could probably like personas or whatever. I wouldn't have been able to live with her.
We have Harmony. Christina was the other one.
Mm-hmm. That was from when I was little. As I got older, there was more. There's Letecia, and there's Taylor, and there's Maria. She's protector. It's like I don't change the names because you look at a lot of my different social medias, they have different names. Different sites, different one point. You can always talk to when I play softball because, like, if I was in Letecia, like Letecia, I mean, we did extras so I could get left-handed and left-handed. And like sometimes people wouldn't understand when I go to the plate, and they'd be like, "Hey, you need to hit left-handed, and you need to like," because I'd be like a runner, if you know like baseball. If there's like a runner in second and third, they're like, "You need to hit left-handed." But if I was in that personality, I couldn't hit left-handed.
We have, as you got older, there was Letecia, Taylor. Mm-hmm. You said Taylor was the protector?
Yeah, Taylor's my main person. No, Maria's my protector. Taylor's my main personality.
Thank you. Maria.
Mm-hmm. Victoria is the only personality that I have like empathy in because I store so much of, you know, trauma. If you want me to like be like if a friend's talking to me and they need me to give them advice, I have to switch to Victoria to actually try and be empathetic, you know, like severely empathetic, you know what I mean? I just don't have to.
All right. Taylor's the main personality. Maria's the protector. Victoria is the one who has the most empathy and kindness.
And then Letecia, she's back bipolar. She would be doing the most. Like, you'll notice when I'm on Letecia. Actually, the psychiatrist the other day came and changed my meds. She was doing the most. She's bipolar tech, and she was up for 4, 5, 6 days at a time. You know, so I think it's Kepler or something like that.
You're currently on Kepler.
Kept something. Yeah, that. Kept I was gonna put me back on those Zyprexa, but I'll be eating too much on it. I don't like it.
Who are we talking to right now?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say Taylor is the main personality, what do you mean by that?
It's like, okay, so you notice like with Letecia, she's like more like into her like thug life. I guess you can say like rap music, that kind of thing. But Taylor's everything is like Letecia wanted to be, because she gets to be like, yeah, kind to everybody, but like successful. She has a whole separate world, you know. She's married to Tyler. They have kids.
Taylor wanted to be in Letecia married to Tyler.
No. Taylor is everything Letecia. You got it backwards. Taylor is married to Tyler and have 3 kids, Ariana, Alicia, and Adriano.
Did you and Albert ever have any problems with physical?
No, like, okay, so our mom is a nurse practitioner for psychiatry. She's a lot of extensive experience in psychiatry. She would constantly tell Albert, I needed to be on medication, or I need to be doing this throughout our whole marriage. You know what I mean? So that would cause a lot of problems. Like, even if you look at the report that she wrote the police before I got arrested, she talks about, you know, in there about, you know, 1 minute I'm this way, 1 minute I'm that way. You know what I mean? So, like, basically was married to him and her. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't necessarily a lot of physical. There was not, you know, any physical abuse. It was a lot of emotional abuse. He's a narcissist. So, you know, he's the victim and everything. He took advantage of my mental, because I way my mental status would be, and like go to his mom about it, and they'd all try to like, you know, tell me I need to be on this meds, or I need help for this, or I'm crazy, you know. So it was more so mental and emotional. And there was never any physical up until the end. When we got custody of the kids, he thought I was in cahoots with me, which I guess you can kind of say I was. Because if you look at my phone records, you'll see my plan was leaving, but I didn't want to leave the kids. Several messages you can see me say, I don't want to leave the kids, because I knew they would get taken care of. So we had custody of them. But their mom, she started dabbling in drugs, but she wasn't ready to get the kids back yet. So my plan to her was always like, I'm gonna let you know right before I leave, you better have a house, you better have everything together, and then I'll help you get the kids back to Carolina. So when he found out that what he called it, was in cahoots with her, that's when he started getting violent and aggressive, like throwing lamps in the house, there's a video on my phone they have where he stopped the car, because I record it all the time, because I wanted to keep all that evidence for Landon to have. And he's beating the piss out of Gannon, and he's flinging stuff like irate because he thinks we're all in cahoots against him to get the kids back. And he's like, you're just trying to take the kids from me. You're trying to get them back to their mom. So once I got the cars from him and we lived together, that's when it became like that. There was no hitting me with his hands. It was just flinging stuff in the house, being angry, slamming doors, punching doors. Like, he would get like that because he swore down I was working with her. I mean, which I guess you can see it as me working with her, but I felt like if I left, they wanted to be taken care of. Like, he was going to do schoolwork. He was going to make sure they clean. Nobody, he wouldn't. So he doesn't have that nurturing piece or that ability to multitask or none of those things. So in a way, I was kind of working with her to get the kids back home, but I guess he took that as me going against him. I was doing what was right for them. So she probably.
And so the kids would have been his kids.
Right. Right. If you look at all the school paperwork, who always talked to, up until I finally, he realized what I was doing, that I was collecting evidence to get the kids back home to her, because she had already promised me that I could see the kids whenever I wanted in Carolina, like that she would not take them out of my life. She had already told me that. And so, like, once I started collecting, he would notice I'd be driving down the road and I'd have the phone on. And I'd just start collecting everything. Because I'm already a paranoid person. But I knew, like, if I start collecting stuff, you know, like, I would have it to give to her for everything. Because I wanted her to get a sobriety first, get a home, whatever. And once he noticed I started doing that, that's when it got a little bit violent with him speaking. I was trying to set him up and take the kids from him. Like, his weren't paranoia. His was just because he knew I was right with him. He knew that everything I was collecting was preparing for when I left. Because if you even look at my phone searches on the evidence, you'll see that, like, I was like looking for a place to stay. I was like getting everything in order. I had already told Gannon, like, on Wednesday, I'm going to call your mother and tell her what's going on, but we gotta wait till Wednesday. And the reason I said wait till Wednesday, because I was starting that flight attendant job, and I wanted to make sure that everything had went through my flight attendant, that I had been like officially hired. I was going to the training, everything before I said something to her that, hey, I'm leaving. You know what I mean? Here's our plan. This is what we're going to do to get the kids back. They wanted to go with me, but I told them, I was like, don't charge me with kidnapping. If you don't call the country, we got to have a plan, you know? So, but that was always the plan. So they can call it cahoots, whatever they want to call it. But my plan was to make sure I know that Rhonda and Matt would take care of that. So Amanda's mom and dad. I know as long as because when I was in South Carolina and I had the kids, they were the only two people that helped me with anything. I had by myself. So I knew they would be safe with them. Whatever I needed to do to prepare them to have them, that was the application. So.
And about how many months, maybe before this alleged offense happened, did things take where he really became aggressive?
I know it sounds I've created so many different personas in my life in so many different ways to cope with everything I've been through. The sunlight is one of them. Like being in somewhere warm, being somewhere where I can use those coping skills to help me when I have a flashback, you know, when I wake up from a nightmare, so I tried to talk to him about it. And I said, hey, Colorado and me just don't, you know, like it's causing me to get worse mentally. I was having more of my manic episodes. I was just like having more episodes where I forget and lost of time. And a lot of it was because I didn't have those coping skills. Like you can't play softball here in Colorado. You know what I mean? Not during the months that I'm used to playing back home. And so, you know, all these skills I built over time were taken from me in Colorado. So when I got here officially in August, it was weird because I had to do outside duty work too. For teaching, you know, to have like outside duty, stuff like that. I was freezing in September, you know, and I was like, I wanted to do something else, or let me go be a flight attendant where I could do warm sometimes. And I'll set my schedule where I'll be with the kids a few days a week, and I'll be a flight attendant a few days a week. Because I knew mentally I needed the outlet because I'd used it all my life. That's when he took offense to it of like, if you're going to be a flight attendant, there's nobody going to be here to watch the kids. And I was like, I'll be here on these days, but these days I want. So that was around September, October of 2019. Because I had applied for a flight attendant job and I was supposed to start it the next year because they would have like a waiting list or whatever. That's when it got like that, when he saw that I was actually going to be leaving or be gone part-time. He can't operate without having someone do everything. So that's that's the thing, okay? So Letecia believes that Sam Hunt are always together. Y'all know who Sam Hunt is? Country singer, right? Okay, so he always like kind of laughs at me about this because I be telling him Sam Hunt writes these songs about me all the time, you know what I mean? And so we went through, when I'd be in my bipolar episodes, like we had everybody convinced back home that Sam Hunt was Harley's dad because Hunt's our last name, you know what I mean? And then I don't know, because I be getting like this ego of like, why would you want me? Like, I still do the same thing now, even at the jail, when I don't have nothing but an orange suit. You know what I mean? But I still be thinking of both, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I am aware of the discrepancies in my personalities and being, you know, working with special needs kids throughout the time I have. I know when I recognize something's abnormal to be around somebody. I'll be like that, and then next thing you know, I won't come out of my room. Especially around like holidays and stuff like that. Like, I won't come out of my room. I'll just be sitting in my room the whole time. Like in my marriage, Albert would be like, "Won't you come in here and watch TV?" And I'd be like, "No, I'm staying in here." "Why do you want to stay in here?" But then I go into the mode of like, well, I mean, I spent a lot of time in my closet growing up. Why not? You know? And I would just not eat, flow with me. You know, the world's going to end. I want to die. You know? And then I'd fluctuate back into it again. So, like common sense, I knew something, you know, wasn't right. Like, I'm not a stable person. I'm not a person that you're going to say that being a professional that I am, and through all this time with schooling, how do you think I did it? Because I didn't sleep. You know what I mean? I'd be so excited. I'd be doing this degree and that degree and that degree. How did I get them all? Because of those times. But then there'd be times when I wouldn't be turning in my schoolwork, and I'd have to message the teacher and be like, "Look, that's right now. You know, like next week I'll catch up and do 3 weeks worth of work, but just not this week." You know, and so like you learn that's just not normal. Like, if you guys, one of y'all came to work with each other like that, and you consistently came like that, you'd be thinking one of two things: are you on drugs, or is something really wrong? And I don't do drugs, so like the more that happened, you know, like I became cognizant of it. And then Harley, as she got older, she started noticing. She'd be like, "Mom, you'll be this personality, then you'll be this one, and then I don't even know sometimes." And she just learned to like, you know, like to deal with it. And then sometimes they can't even pry me out of the room because I won't leave for days. You know, so as it happens more, you
you hear voices, but they're all your personality,
right.
and that's it.
Yeah, and the devil. But you know, there's always the devil. The devil was trying to tell you to do something. Like when I was on the hike in January 26, the devil was telling me to jump off the height because it had to be a white family to jump off the height. That's the devil. That's like cosmic powers trying to like come in and intervene. That's going to be with all of us. You know what I'm saying? The closer you are to God, the devil's going to come get you all the time. You know what I mean? But as far as like, you know, I don't believe in this whole thing that people say, and no disrespect to y'all's jobs, but for me, I don't believe in this whole thing where people say, "Oh, these people are talking to them." These are your cosmic powers and your personalities. Like, all my personalities are going to talk to me and be like, "Why don't you just slap that girl?" And I'm like, "No, like those type of things." But I don't think that these people beyond this whole mess thing and they be doing that stuff. Like, none of that. But there's always the devil that has you to do that. You know what I mean? Like running a Jeep off in the form of chance for you to run a Jeep off. You know what I mean? But I don't believe in the other stuff. So, you know.
So you don't believe in which other stuff?
Right. I be seeing people come in and they be on meds and they be swearing up and down, like, you know, like, "Oh, these people were telling them to do this." And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? It's only going to be the devil. Like, the devil told me to jump off a hot killing. Different. It ain't going to be just random people sitting out somewhere telling you this. Like, this ain't how it works. You know what I mean? Yes, does my different personalities tell me to do different things? Yes, but that's still a part of me, just in a separate world. That's not, you know, I don't know. I just feel like they be just a little bit emotional like that. But I believe in the big one thing wrong, that's the devil or that's yourself. I mean, even if you got 5 cells, it's them. It ain't. If you, that's people not with drugs like me now. People that be on meth and all that. Like I be seeing them coming there and they be swearing up and down. You know, the most craziest stuff is going on. Like I don't believe in that. I feel like it's the devil.
Ethan?
Not. Have I? Yes. I've been in forms of psychosis in my life where I probably, or maybe you can call them delusion. But on a regular basis, no. Like if I'm in a different world, like if I go to a world like a Janelle's world, I see everything Janelle sees. But that's because I've created those worlds. I've been able to be like, I know what Janelle does. Or if I go to Christina Brown and I'm doing gymnastic stuff around Phil, like I know that I can make a balance beam, or you know, I put apparatus out or whatever. But I know those are things that I leave this place to go to that place, so I put this. You see what I'm saying? It's not something that, you know, there's, you know, oh, that looks like the sun is in here. Like, no, it's not like that. I actually created those worlds. I know what goes in there. I put it there. You know what I mean?
It sounds like it's almost a conscious choice on your part.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Except Maria. Now, I don't have choice on that part, because I can't control going to Maria. That, I can switch back and forth, but I cannot switch to Maria without it being triggered. Like, you'd have to put me, like, under some, like, you know, drug-induced setting or something to trigger to get Maria. I can't forcefully switch to her. But everyone else, I can. Because it's a conscious way of doing it, you know? Like, every time I go to court, I tell Miss Robinson, the lady out here, she goes with me to court, I'll be like, bye-bye, Miss Robinson. I'm leaving. And she's like, don't leave yet. And I just go all over the world. Like, sometimes I'll be calling my name. She'll have to, like, snap me out of it. And I'll just be in a whole different thing, doing all different stuff. But I created that as a way to deal with things in life. It's not something that, that is like a chemical imbalance or something, I don't think. I think it's just me. But then Maria, though, she's a trained sniper now, so she can do the most.
Where did she get training to do?
But Maria does for hire. She got trained from Russia. She does for hire. She's from Mexico. She got trained for hire. She does $1,500 per minute. She does different things. That includes everything. Like, so you see her come out, she'll talk about eliminate this person, eliminate that person, but there's only certain people. It's pedophiles, people that like sexually molest people, people that rape people, like those that need to be eliminated from the planet. If there are people, you can say, well, you're a Christian, you're supposed to not say that, but Maria's not Christian, so she don't say that. Those are people that just need to be completely wiped off the face of the planet. Because if you're going to sit there and hurt a child and pedophile and molest them and all that, then you need to be breathing. If you look at that report where the drive here, that lady was trying to get me with her gun. And, like, you can see on the camera why I kept on telling her, like, I knew exactly what she was over there doing and thinking. And I kept telling her, like, I know what you're doing over here. I know you're out to get me. You're trying to shoot me with your gun. Like, I knew all that. You know what I mean? So, like, that was a time, an example where it was very heightened, where I was, like, all over the place thinking they were out to get me with the stuff. And that I was trying to read what she had going on, and she was trying to shoot me with her gun. I don't know if you saw that report, but, like, you could see it in there where I keep looking at the cameras, telling them this. That was an example of a time that it was, like, very, very heightened.
And those perceptions that you get, are they always accurate? Or?
From, like, the premonitions?
No, when you get real paranoid and it seems like you know what other people are.
Because like, think about it. In that instance with that lady, that Deputy James, it was for accurate. She did have a gun on me. So or what else she been doing with a gun? Pointing at me. She was trying to kill me with it. So like, that was a perfect example why it was accurate, you know what I'm saying? And of course, Maria came. That whole incident happened when Maria came, and she's just going to regulate all, you know what I mean? So, but it's usually always accurate. Like, the whole incident with the guy trying to tell me I hit somebody. I didn't really hit somebody, but these people were out to get me the whole time, and I kept telling them, like, look, there ain't no way I hit somebody. Y'all were setting me up. Like, who hit somebody and there's no marks? So I knew they were doing that because his last name was Sanchez and Maria's last name is Sanchez. So how did that happen? You know what I mean?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. This kind of relates back to a few things. So you've mentioned flashbacks. Can you describe more what that feels like for you?
Yeah. So anytime that I feel like I'm threatened or something is in trouble, danger, threatened in that way, I'll always have a flashback of like me trying to protect my mom. Like there was one time when my mom's boyfriend Greg was like beating my mom, and he threw her through the glass window at the front, and I ran around the house, got the bat, hit him in the legs, and knocked him down. So like I'll have flashbacks of those times with those things happening. You know what I mean? I try to like, I did therapy before. We try to like reframe it. You know what I mean? I did that before through the school district. It just doesn't work for me. I would still have that flashback, and then that's why sometimes I switch personalities and go in the protective mode, because I'll have that flashback and I'll think I'm back in that same time. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I text my boss and tell her that my stepdad died. I had a flashback that morning when Lena came into my room. I thought, I guess it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I texted my boss and told her that my stepdad had died. But that was because I was having flashbacks the whole time and nightmares of the day when my stepdad died, because I weren't really sure if he was dead or not. You know what I mean? And it happens a lot because, like, I can see somebody walking on the street and I'll be like, that looks like him. One of the triggers is red and black. Okay, and I know you have red and black on. So I can even watch like NC State. That's one of them, basketball. You go to NC State game, red and black. You know what I mean? Because it's surrounded. It's not just one, it's surrounded. He would come in with red shirt on and black. And he always named this as like his whole thing of like his mom. So his mom was killed supposedly by his stepdad. So he always wears red and black to like commemorate this. You know what I mean? So like I can see somebody walking on the road with red and black on it, and I'll have a flashback of stepdad coming in the room, turning lights on. He'll go, "My name is James Lowry," and he has this whole like monologue thing that he does before he heightens up to the fuse. You know what I mean? And so that happens. That's why when I was driving one day on the back roads, I was thinking there was somebody walking, and I was thinking it was him. And so, like, it gets scary because, like, what if one day I was to, like, try to run that person over, like, thinking that was really him, you know what I mean? So those are the kind of flashbacks I have, and most of them, I'd say 90% of them have something to do with him. Me and Kyle call him Jackass James just because we, like, don't see it personally so much. Jackass James, because that's what, I just that I have flashbacks to from fire because the house burned down when I was younger. And my mom blamed me and I called 911, and I got in trouble for calling 911 because my mom was saying that the way they read the report, she wasn't going to be able to like get the house fixed on her insurance, and like same thing. Got in trouble for calling 911. Said that here. What happened was I was trying to cook for my siblings, and I had a pot, and curtains used to not be in the house, whatever. And I had to run go get my little brother, and I was trying to find my sister. And when I came back in, it caught flame on the thing, and it burnt my mom's whole kitchen living room. So like anytime there's something hot, I can smell it. Like I can smell the fire that's out there. Like sometimes, like if, for example, it can be something small. Like people could be doing like a wood fire in the woods, like burning trash, or like a bonfire. I don't do bonfire because I will be the bonfire, and I'll just be like, no, like I now have a flashback of the time that the fire happened in the house. The reason we moved from North Carolina to South Carolina was the only shot of our house and set it on fire because we lived in a very neighborhood. So I'll have flashbacks of my mom calling me, telling me that everything we had worked for was burned in the house. So those are like just some examples of what happens. I mean, I can almost like feel like it's burning, or I can almost feel like I'm there. I smell it. I see it. You know what I mean? And then I'll remember everything. And it's almost like it's different than when I switch personalities. When I switch personalities, like I go to those whole different. When that happens and I have a flashback in that same place that it happened, like I just visually there. And it happened so much for my stepdad. Like I could never. I tried the psychotherapy and the whole framing it. I don't expect me to reframe getting molested by a person that your mom married and trusted you. How do you want me to reframe it? That's what I'd always tell him, like that he didn't do it because he did. That just doesn't work. And so like I tried doing all that, but I couldn't. Anyone that looked like him, anyone that freaking like walked like him, like anything throughout my whole entire life. You know, and especially with the whole like whenever he come in with the whole like James, sorry, if their person's name was James, I'd always cringe and be like, you know what I mean? When I read, this sounds bad, God forgive me. When I read the scripture, the book of James, I can't even go to the scripture in the book of James without having those flashbacks. And that's bad. Reading my Bible. Can't even read that section because that's his name. Because I'd be thinking like, as good as James was, because James was Jesus' brother, how is this even James? Like, there's something wrong here. And my brother, she gave my brother Dakota James, his middle names, and I would that. So those are like times that things just like were reading a flashback of him. And like when they did my brother's graduation, they walked across the stage and they were like, he graduated high school and I was there. And they were like, Dakota James Bowery. I literally was like, freaking out. Like, don't tell him that. He is not like his dad. You know, just like, a lot.
So you're saying that these flashbacks are more than just a memory.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm telling you, almost like you're right there. See, so it's all your senses are activated. You know what I mean?
I also recognize that red and black is trigger for you. That you're experiencing the flashbacks today when you said.
So when you first said something to me, I didn't say anything to you, but that was the reason I didn't. Do you remember when you first were like, how are you doing? And I didn't say anything to you? I told myself, like, you know what I mean? Like, she has nothing to do with Jackass James. You know what I mean? So I'm sorry. Don't think I tried to disrespect you in any way when you first said something to me, but I go into like that defense mode on it. My friend, when she comes to visit me on the video stream, she won't. She won't wear it. Like, she won't do it because she knows that's one of me. That's what I was for. Like, and I went to school, like, I'd go watch ball games at North Carolina, but if we played NC State, I'd be like, oh, hell no. Because I'd just, like, surrounded by a sea of red and black. Nah.
And you've mentioned triggers. We've talked about several different triggers that you have. What exactly is a missing trigger?
Well, if they don't trigger a flashback, which is usually what happens, it kind of depends on what my mental state already is. So basically, if it's just I'm a little heightened, it'll be a flashback. If I am in severe protective mode, like scared for my life or someone else's life, it will go into anyone's enemy, and I'm protecting those people around me. One time we were at Burger King, this was in January of 2020, and this guy, he came in, and he was trying to pick on Lena about the drink machine. It's literally, like, I felt like she was just, like, this guy was trying to do something to her. He looked like James in a way, sort of, kind of like body shape, everything. I get on the table at Burger King, and I'm like turning out the whole entire Burger King, like, to protect her. Like, I feel like that's my job. But like, I have to do it first before Maria does. If Maria does it, I'm not going to remember it. And if she does it, it's going to be bad, because then it's going to be somebody who is trying to hurt somebody else who's going to be hurt, you know.
With your dissociation, you said before, apart from Maria, there's a level of conscious awareness about it. Would you say it's like daydreaming in terms of their lives, other personalities?
Yeah. It is actually a whole world. But daydreaming to me would be just somebody having like a good imagination. You know what I mean? No. It's like a whole entirely different world. Like, for example, if you were to talk to Harmony can tell you exactly what it was like to be abused in depth, like detail by detail. Every sexual part that questions she'd want to answer, she could do for you. You see what I'm saying? So I try not to say that's like daydreaming, because that's like real. You know what I mean? Where if, I think the other ways to like explain it. Maria, like I said, she doesn't have awareness of everybody else. It's just her world, and she's protecting me. And there's not people consistent in her world. Like, for example, Maria wouldn't know you. The only people consistent in Maria's world is Chance, Hardy, and like people that she's been sought out to protect. So it's not really daydreaming, it's an actual job that she has to do. The kids were part of that world. Like, anybody want to do something to Gannis, Lane, Harley, Maria feels like she can get them too, because I've spent my whole life not having adult protection. I'm going to give them protection in 5 different forms. And that's because more like different worlds that are created, not necessarily just, like when I do it in a courtroom, I go to that whole world, not like the people can go with me, not me just making it up like, oh, I'm at the beach. Not like that. It's actually me going there to the beach doing the most.
All right, so this may be the most difficult part of the day. To talk to us about what happened on the day of the event. Maybe things leading up to it.
Where do you want me to start out?
Well, where do you think it begins?
Well, I already told you that before that I was going to leave, right? And I was just waiting to get everything in order. I would get back somewhere else where I could be, mentally okay and not have to deal with like these people that wanted to find out about this car accident. So I had to escape from them. So I started planning to get a place to stay. And I was going to work as a flight attendant. Get all that information, like I told you guys, for landed back. Then stopped working at my job. I thought I was okay again. I was a job, but I wasn't because I still live in Colorado. So no matter where I went in Colorado, the mob, the mafia, I got people looking into it, investigator to find out where he's from, but I had to get away from him. You know. So I got a new job and all that, was getting ready to go work as a flight attendant. It came back in January, you know, I think it was around like the 9th or 10th, I think it was, when I picked them back up. I picked them back up from the airport. That was that, like, you know, transition period, getting everybody back, you know, in the mode, in the routine and all that. That was. Then we went on the cruise. We went on a cruise on January 16th. With me and Albert, and the kids stayed at home by themselves with Harvey and the babysitter. And it was weird because, well, I get to the port from Lauderdale, but they had lost my bags. So I was like freaking out, thinking that one of these people had took my bags. So I changed my whole route of where I was going. So instead of going on that one cruise, we hopped on another cruise because I didn't know if like they had got my itinerary for where I was going. And the kids were at home, you know what I mean? So I changed my whole itinerary to go to Palm Beach. And I really went to Fort Lauderdale. And I kept telling Albert, I was like, I thought I saw that guy, like, you know, I know they're following us. And he was just like, no one's going to go to that stream over a car. Right. So we ended up going on the cruise. I changed the whole route and everything. And we come back from the cruise. Well, the moment I get back from the cruise, Andrew approaches me and he says, he was like, your friends came by in that black car looking for you. So I started freaking out because I know the same black car. They came to Red Television and search and find me. So I told him, I said, look, can you explain what the car looked like? I wanted to see if it has a black car too. So I was like, well, it could be Edgar's car, you know. So he explained the car, and it definitely wasn't Edgar's car, because Edgar had the Beamer. I just started getting my paranoia was getting really bad. So I wouldn't go to the mailbox. I wouldn't go wherever. I was going to work, and I was putting, like I said, the visors up in my car because I thought that they could see me. I'd go take breaks at work and freaking out because I just started this job at District 20, and I didn't want to think, you know, like I was just losing my mind or something. So I'd go to my car and try to figure out what to do. So fast forward, those were like 2 or 3 days. It was Nina's birthday, January 22nd. So, you know, we're celebrating her birthday. Well, I rode all the way to get Albert's mom because I was scared to stay at home by myself. Like, I didn't know if they were going to clear our house or not. Prior to that, like, I got in trouble with the Colorado Sheriff's Office because I made a call to 911 and told them I thought somebody was in the backyard. Well, they send people out and they find out that there was nobody in the back. They say there's nobody. I don't believe it. They look at my alarm status and they're like, you could get in trouble for making false reports to the police, right? This was right in that time frame. And so I rode to the airport to get Albert's mom on Elena's birthday, and I basically wouldn't like leave out of people's sight. You know what I mean? Like people that could be around that I knew could help protect me or whatever. Fast forward on a couple of days, you know, I was trying to go to work. This would be all over the place, you know. And so January 26th, I was stayed at Kobe Bryant had died in a helicopter crash. And we were going to go to church that day. Well, there was this guy who was saying he was Michael the Archangel now. That's why we didn't go to church on January 26th. It was a Sunday. First of all, I told y'all where my faith is in Jesus. We had a business card that said Michael the Archangel. So I'm like thinking, I even asked my, attorneys this, and they asked me back and forth, like, why do you think this man was doing this? He was trying to keep us from going to the church, Turn the car around. So we're just going to go on the hike because, there's Kobe Bryant guy. I love Kobe Bryant, we'll just go on the hike instead. So we're on the hike on January 26th. And I'm like talking to the kids about everything. And the woman was wanting, he knew I was packing boxes. Everything, knew about the flight attendant or whatever. Wanting to go with me. And I said, geez, you have to wait till Wednesday. I said, because I'm going to talk to your mom to make sure the flight attendant stuff is through, whatever. Well, when we were on this hike, as we're talking about this, like the thing that happened earlier with the whole Michael the Archangel, that's when something started telling me that we have to jump, have to be a white family that jumps. Because if it be a black family, it would never make TV. Which, you guys know, that would be definitely true because there's a lot of racism still in the country, So, throughout the day, like, this kept happening with the whole Michael the Archangel guy, And I'm like, why is this? I didn't know if the people were getting him to come as Michael the Archangel and get him to come there. Like, had anything to do with this guy from the accident? That was a leg accident or what? The body for the kids said, look, let's just go on home. You know what I mean? Like, the day's been too much of a hard day. Let's just go. Adam was complaining with his stomach because he had like poop all over. Whatever. Yeah, like I told you, his back down at problem. Well, we get ready to go home. I hadn't gotten dinner yet. So I leave him and back home, he's taking a bath or whatever. Me and Lena go get food, get have do whatever. Bobby was at work. So we come back, feed him, do everything, like a normal thing. My mind is still sitting there about this whole, I feel like it was God trying to tell me something, this whole Archie. So my mind was still on that. So I was like, let's call it early night, guys. Let's just, accident happened that day with the whole helicopter. It was just like not a good day that normally we have on. So then we leave. I'm like, we'll go get happy, let's come back. Call it a night. And I'm in the bed, just like relaxing or whatever. And I hear the alarm on fire, 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 fire. So I just immediately freaking out. The next 30 minutes of that, 30 minutes-ish, was a glare. Like a glare. So like, where I went, like I went into protection. And I got the dogs, Lena, and took her outside because they were the first people I saw upstairs, you know what I mean? So I was thinking get the safe people out first, But I come back and get ready to run down the stairs to go back to get G, and I had socks on. So I slipped down the whole stairway or whatever. That's how my blood gets on the baseboard. I bumped my head against the baseboard because I was running so fast down the stairs to get down to where I see smoke at this point. As soon as I see the smoke, I go into panic mode. I was having flashbacks of, like all the fires I've experienced. I went back upstairs. Went back out the front door again, and then realized Shannon's downstairs. Go back down the stairs. And then I went back down the stairs again, and Shannon's on the sofa, and the fire is around the sofa. So I reach over to grab him, and when I do, he was wrapped in the covers. So I grabbed the covers, I pulled the covers, and when we both go back on the fire, last part of that was just being down on the fire. I didn't remember anything to do until we were in the truck, but all of us were safe in the truck. So, like, I don't remember running out at that point in time. I know that I did because the alarm doorbell camera showed that we run out the house. But I don't know if I just, like, didn't sit there, if it was just so traumatic. I don't know what happened from the time we went down in the fire to going out to the car. It's set my doorbell, like, the camera system. So they have camera footage. Go out, we get in the car, and I just pull off. Because again, me, I'm a runner. That was it, to just run away. He's hysterical, Lane is hysterical. I'm trying to figure out what is going on. Is the house burnt down? Do we have a house to live in? You have to remember, for me, a fire is this size. And it's huge to me. So I go back to this house because there's this fire. But like, the gas tank was on empty, but someone kept telling me, just keep driving. Your car's just going to go on empty anyway. Just keep going. Don't worry. Your car's just going to go. Don't worry. Somehow, in between that time, I end back up at the house. Again, that was a gap that I don't remember. But I text Harley according to the messages and says, it's okay. There's a fire. Everybody's okay. And I send her a picture of the fire. Harley's freaking out, like, okay, I'm on the way home. Is Gannon okay? I said, and I wrote her back on the message, and I said, he has some burns from the fire, but everybody's okay. So Harley comes in, the house is like, smell like smoke or whatever. We're opening windows or whatever. Harley basically took charge on that part. She started just opening windows. I'm like, Mom, it's okay, calm down. So I was all hysterical all over the place. They all wanted to, like, everybody just be together, because to me, all I could keep thinking about was, if I couldn't have got to Gannon, he'd have, like, burned up on the fire, you know what I mean? So I was just all over the place. Well, we all decided to lay on the sofa together. That was on January 26th. So we're all just laying on the sofa together, just trying to, like, figure out the plan. Like I said, it's okay. I said, I'll have one of my friends. He goes by the name Guam. I'm not going to give his real name. I was like, I'll have one of my friends Guam to get somebody to come over and fix it. Not going to be a big deal or whatever. And then that's where this whole, like, video goes on. And then about the fire, why did he set it, whatever. I remember I told you earlier, I record everything. I wanted to have that too, I didn't know how it started. I was upstairs when it started. And so he's telling me that he set the fire, but he didn't mean to set it. It was like all of that. So we're just trying to come up with a plan to fix it. Now, you look at the video, people took it out of context. When I say we can sell the sofa, I don't mean you can look at our house. We have plenty of them. You gotta think of this country slang talk, meaning we can get a new sofa. And so that got taken out of complete context of what we were saying. So you gotta think, my missus say I was all hysterical. Well, we all were just on the sofa. I was like, God's gonna get someone to come fix it or whatever. That's totally fine. They brought the number to the garage. I said, hey, I'm going to go to work tomorrow, kids will be going to school. If you could get someone to fix it, just replace the carpet, whatever, I'll pay you whatever. So, like, I have memory, out and in up until then, right? But where the gaps came in was what happened during that time frame. So I hear the garage open at some point during the night. I don't know if I was having a nightmare, or I don't know if the garage was really opening. I don't really know because I was so heightened about this fire. So I kept going through the house thinking that there was someone in the house. And I kept ran up down the freaking garage, kept coming open. I'd open the door to the garage, nothing. I didn't see the garage being moved or anything. Again, I don't know. I remember coming back in the house and I was just like, I woke up again. I guess that's when I text my boss. I don't remember this part. The message went to my boss that said that my stepdad had died. I remember my stepdad died when I was 19. But I didn't snap back out of it until later on. That really wasn't the same day that my stepdad had died, right? But then I think I hear somebody in the garage again. Okay, well then I go out to the garage and I tell Harley, I said, Harley, I'm going to shut the door to the garage and lock it, because if you shut the door from the inside and you come into the garage, like nobody could get to the inside. And I was like that paranoid, So I don't remember, but the doorbell cam, I'm like walking out, I guess looking in the yard, just trying to figure out what's going on. But then I remember being in the garage naked. And so I don't know who was in my garage. So when I talk to police, that's how all the stuff came about being raped and stuff, because I don't know having a flashback of that. I don't know if someone was really in the garage. To me, someone was in the garage because I was naked. When I say naked, like I was in like a bra, and I knew the door had been closed earlier, but why was the door open? That I had locked earlier in the day, like early in the night. But when I get like that and I think somebody's around or whatever, I go into protective mode and I'll walk the whole time and I'll watch the yard and I'll be like on the zone of thinking someone's coming in the house, I don't know neighbors in Colorado. Like I know in California where I could call a neighbor, And so the next thing I remember is Lena coming back in to brush her hair, which would have been 2 or 3 hours later, okay? I'm basing this on my cell phone records, you know what I mean? I snapped out of it when Lena asked me to brush her hair. Now, you got to remember, like when Maria comes, they're in that world, but like they're not, like it's protected, you know what I mean? I don't remember sending anything to the boss about my stepdad, you know what I mean? It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So Lena gets up and I remember brushing her hair and I come back and I'm like looking around and I was like, oh, there was a fire. Why was I in the garage? Why was I this? That's when it started being like, did I dream this? Did this really happen? You know what I mean? So I go out to the garage, you know what I mean? That's when I grabbed my head and there was like matted blood on my hair. So I knew that I had really fell down the stairs. Like I thought I fell down the stairs, you know what I mean? And so the matted blood was on my hair or whatever. And so I just kept like messing with my hair, like trying to figure out what had went on. Well, I knew Gannon had burns on his arms. I evaluated him that next morning when I snapped back into it. I didn't see that it was enough to go to the hospital or whatever. Because I was leaving, I had an extra cell phone. It was the phone I put in the dog food when I got arrested. So on that phone, I called in. That's how the call came in that Gannon wasn't going to school that day. They couldn't figure out like where this call came from. That's because it came from the extra phone. Holding my Gannon's stomach, he still was doing He's upset. He doesn't want to smell around the kids when he has this accident. So we stayed out for the day. I realized on my phone that I had sent that message to the boss, and I was just like, what is going on? Like, I didn't remember sending it, but I don't know why was I thinking about my stepdad, what's going on, and I kept having these, at this point now, became flashbacks in the garage. And I was like, who was in the garage with me? But the whole time it was about Eduardo, which is the guy that Guam got to work to fix the carpet or whatever. That's who I kept like having flashbacks with in the garage. So we go forward, whatever. I told Gannon, I said, he said he wanted to stay home. I said, no. You said my friends in the car came by. I don't want you here by yourself. You're going to go with me. I said, go grab your cover. You're going to go with me for today. I don't want you here by yourself. Now, typically, I let the kids stay home by themselves because I researched Colorado law and it said that it was up to the parents and their discretion of how it had to be when you had to stay home. So I never had a problem with it. They would get off the bus before I get home. No issues. We had an alarm. You know, they had cell phones, everything. But so my paranoia was so bad that I was like, no, you're going with me today. So we did the cover. I moved the cars. And don't remember that part, but it's on the camera. Moving the cars. And I drive the truck for the day. I go get a bike. Part of the moving process will be boxes like that. So I was glad that the truck was left for me to use. So me and him get in the car. I think it says around like, no, before we get to 10 o'clock. Albert never writes the facts at all that night about anything. So the next morning, and he's like, oh my God, I'm fired, right? And I looked at my phone and I didn't see anything. So that's why at first I thought it was all really happened. Because I never got a message back from Albert, you know. But then that morning, he messaged back, and I said, yes. I was like, he's okay. So that's when I sent a picture of Gannon in the bed that morning. Okay? So I was like, yes, he's fine. He's laying down. You know, he didn't go to school today. I called it in. I'm not going to work. I didn't go into explaining to Albert about me sending a message, losing my mind, don't know what's going on about. I don't want him to be like, you know, freaked out 1,000 miles away. So I told Gannon, let's just go out shopping for the day. Remember, we go get coffee that morning. We go get like Dunkin' Donuts. I think they had me at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't remember going to the gas station, but they had me at the gas store. Just basically going about shopping for the day. However, when I get to the PetSmart, these black cars come by PetSmart. And we're seeing cars on the freaking camera at PetSmart. Gannon's got his switch in the car laid out. Remember, I told you, he had burns in his arms and a few right here. Now, when I say they were very small, we're talking like centimeters, okay? They were anything that you would think that they needed medical attention. The park is by PetSmart. So you see me on the cameras at PetSmart running back to the door, like looking out. My first thought was I wanted to make sure G was okay in the car because he was playing his bitch. Well, the car came back by. I go back into PetSmart, come back to the door. And like if you watch the camera footage of the PetSmart, you see me going back and forth to the door. Like, because how did they know where I was at this point? And that was Edgar's car because Edgar has a Beamer. Okay. And it was not a Beamer. So I leave the PetSmart. In case that I bought something, again, I don't remember. I leave the phone. Now, this is the only phone I had, which was Gannon's phone, because I was trying to hurry up out to the car. And so I leave the phone at the PetSmart according to the GPS on the phone. So we go out, finish the day, we get Valentine's candy, and I'm like questioning Gannon the whole time of like, what did they think else when they came to the house? What did they look like, you know? Like, trying to get the best information I could get out of him because he was pretty good at like his age, like, you know, like, okay, he's little. Like, if you say, was it a purple shirt? And even no, it was not purple. It was a purple shirt. That's, you know, so I knew I could get good information from him. So then we were driving on the back road, okay? The only reason we took a back road was because this road called 25 was backed up. And so we took a back road to go to Castle Rock. And this guy lived in Castle Rock. I called him a site. they were going to ride by this address that was on that police report, and I was going to ask them to please stop. Like, whatever you want. Did you want money? Like, I didn't do anything to your car. I wasn't involved in this accident. Like, you have all my information. Now, the insurance had already deemed I wasn't responsible for it and that I was on a plane. So I was going to think about like, talking to this guy. I probably would have chickened out when I got there, but that was my mindset. So we go on this back road, which I think is called County Line Road. We go on County Line Road, and the guys talk about the castles. And so I'm like looking for the castles to try to like show them the castles because there was like some castles that are like then I got mixed up, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't have a cell phone to see how I get out of here because I need the cell phone. And so I couldn't figure out how to get out there. So I'm like doing U-turns. And then I freak out because I thought the guy walking was my stepdad. That's why I was telling the police and the people that I was trying to like back the car up and go back forward because he should be dead. I don't know if it was just from that morning because I sent my boss that text message or what, but he was on that road. So I backed the car up, go back again, and I'm freaking out because he should be dead. This point is when I realized I'm not stable enough to be big fights, just going to talk to people or anything. So I parked the car for a minute, take a break or whatever. I don't know how long the break was. I remember taking the break. I remember them tapping me on the back of the shoulder, like, geez, we gotta go, like, gotta get Lena from school. That's when I snapped back into it. And I remember driving the car back out the highway, like out of the county line road to go back to the house. So remember I told you I was talking again throughout the day. He said something about these kids that were bullying. Not him, but Lena. And Albert wanted him to go do something to these boys. So him told that Lena got hit with something. I was going to go talk to that kid. That kid's mom lived on Loandra. So we come back into the neighborhood, into the part where Wanda Drive was at. Now, rewind a few days prior to that, him and the kid had been called. They're like the Smarty candy and the like rolls. Well, they had been called a few days prior, like fashion the Smarty candies and like they were doing drugs or whatever. My opinion was he should not hang out with kids. Albert begged different. So I was going to go try to talk to this parent. But once I had this whole, like, my stepdad was on that road, I freaking stopped the car at Wanda and Bannon. How about you do this? Because he wanted a video game. I said, why don't you go to the mailbox, get the mail, and do your lap, and I will buy you that $60 game on it. I think they know we have been shopping, and I only bought him at $20. So I told her I'd do points. And I'll give you points to give you the $60 game. So go to the mailbox and do your laps or whatever. So I don't know if Gannon got back in the car with me then or Gannon walked back to the house then, but we ended up back at the house on January 27th. So if you see the videos, you see me like pull in, drive back, do all this stuff. I don't remember all that. I don't know if I still thought that I was trying to like, what was going on with stepdad. I just remember I went in the house and I just sit down and was like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? The alarm says I kept going to the back door and all over the house and like go up and down and around and whatever. Well, what threw me off was when I got back to the house, right? The alarm showed there was motion in the house, but there couldn't have been because I set the alarm before I left, but I put it on alarm stay. Because the dogs are in the house, people would say that could have been what triggered the alarm. No, our dogs are crazy. That's not what triggered the alarm. Couldn't have been. And so I ran downstairs thinking, okay, well, maybe Guam had Eduardo come over here and fix this, carpet or whatever. So I ran downstairs, whatever. At some point in time, like I said, I don't remember getting walked back from the box and drove back with me. But Gannon comes back into the house. said he's going to go play on this game. And I said, did you do your laps? And I remember us having that conversation. Then I go back upstairs to work out. What the police have about January 27th is absolutely not true because it's January 28th. Okay? So the day goes on through that, right? Everything happens. I don't know where Gannon's at. Call the police. All that was going on. Everything that happened on that time zone was going on. They came in our house with, I think it was like 15, 20 body cams. You can clearly see, and I've watched these body cams until I've made myself sick, that you can see these body cams come in and nothing is out of order. Nothing is happening. Nothing is wrong at all. And I've watched them over and over and over till I've obsessed on them, you know. When Harley comes home, Raina come in that day, we were going to go eat sushi. Gannon is not a fan of sushi. So at this point in time, I'm like, we'll figure out something else to get. Gannon usually is home by the time that if the sun's not down, it'd be 6 o'clock. But it was raining. So we get in the car, they have us on the car raining, like leaving in the rain. To go right there across the street to ask this neighbor if we've seen him. No, you haven't seen him. So we pull back up. I start freaking out. I'm pacing the house. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Because I'm like, he's doing this flipping hiding challenge. Now, reverse back to this hiding challenge. They have a YouTube channel. YouTube channel, their mom and stepdad made. And like, if you find their YouTube videos, Cool Kids Tube is their YouTube channel. They would do these hiding challenges where like Elena would be in the box. And they would pretend like they were getting shipped all these places. We went over to me and the mom. Nothing we thought was bad about the kids want to do YouTube videos. Flashback forward. So I said, he's doing this hiding challenge. So at first, police was talking to me. I'm just sitting there like, man, he said, do you want, and I know this is going to fall in the video, do you want me to check the house? And I said, yes. Because I knew the hiding challenge police had trained. You can't tell me this many police came in the house and didn't find him. You can't tell me that. That's because it was not true. So they did all this, whatever. The night goes on. Robert calls me back, and I'm a wreck at this point. I'm telling him about this craziness, and I'm telling him about the garage. It's all over the place. All the stories, it kind of like started like throughout the day. It was convoluted. Rain was all over the place. I'm going back and forth like this and the fire. So he sends the officer back to check on me. According to the report, the officer comes back to check on me, and at this point is when I got scared. At this point, I know Gannon's enough to know. When his meds wears off, he's going to eat everything. At this point in time, we haven't even eaten dinner. I haven't even fed the kids. We never even made it to our dinner trip. So that's when I became really, really, really worried. All of us are in the house, and we're like, they went on different searches, whatever. I stayed at the house to make sure, main things, you know, if anyone called, if anyone done anything. That was the last thing on January 27th before it hits January 28th. January, you'll make it on January 28th. Do you want to keep on January 28th or did you need it? Okay. So then January 28th, which would hit 12 a.m. in the morning, right? The January 28th comes on. There's people like, whatever, there's a knock on the window. My bedroom window, right? I had decided that we were going to all sleep upstairs. The reason for that was I get paranoid like that, and the only way I can protect Hardy and Lena is I have them near me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, look, all of us are sleeping up here. We're going to all be up here. I knew I wasn't going to get much sleep, but for the kids, they were going to sleep upstairs. I dozed off for a minute. There's a knock at the door, be at the window. So the knock at the window happens, and I literally go to the window, but I don't see anybody. I remember getting in the car, driving out, because maybe that was Gannon, maybe it was. Yeah, I drive. Video shows me driving out of the neighborhood, like out of the yard, but coming right back or whatever. Or I can't remember. I don't remember that part, but I do know the video shows me like going out to the car or something, and I come back inside. I keep hearing the same loud noise, and so I'm laid out like this, hearing the same loud noise, and I know Edgar was on his way back over. Edgar wasn't going to be there when the police was there. He didn't want any problems or whatever. He was like, I'm going to just go out and look. What does the black car look like? I knew Edgar was going to be on his way back over that morning because they were going to help me move all the stuff to Florida. That was his whole plan, to show back up that morning anyway, not even knowing what had, like, that Gannon was missing. So Edgar was coming back for that morning anyway. So I thought Edgar was getting there early or whatever. But I didn't see him out there outside. When I laid on the sofa like this, breathe again, I freak out. At this point, I think someone's in the house. Now, I didn't have my handgun on me because when the police came earlier, if you look at the footage, they had my handgun was in the car. They searched the car, searched everything on the body cams, and this is what we came up with between me and like putting details together my team. My handgun was in my car because it was on the videos. So I don't know if the back door or if he came in through the garage. But I kept telling him I keep hearing someone in the house, and he was like, "No, you're just paranoid. You're just afraid. You don't know where Gannon's at." So again, me, Edgar, Angelica, that's Edgar's family, and Lena were all in the house. Harley, Lena, I think Angelica was laying down, and Ty was on his way back. I go to school in Florida. Ty was on his way back here. Whenever that noise again, I realized my handgun is in the car. I said, I never drove my car. It was in the car all day. Me and Edgar jump up, okay? I hear it, and I start going down the stairs slowly, and I run back up the stairs. And I was like, down the stairs. Now, I don't know who's downstairs, what's going on. I don't even know if anyone's in the house or if it's just the people looking or what's going on. When we go back down the stairs, Edgar has the other handgun on him. Crossing over the front stairwell is someone in it looks like a cape. Okay? So it's like a cape wrapped around it. Goes straight into the back bedroom. As soon as I see him go to the straight back bedroom, I'm going to instantly go into protection mode. I went to go grab the gun off, like from Edgar, because I thought the person in the cape, I didn't know who it was. I happened with the whole Michael, the archangel, the whole thing that happened with my stepdad, and when I grabbed it from him, the gun hits me and then hits the person in the cape. At the time, I didn't know who the person in the cape was. Oh, standing on top of the bed. I didn't know at the time it was standing on top of the bed. And so later on, when I sat down with my attorneys and we put it together and realized it, I didn't know until that point that it was Gannon standing. Because prior to that, I thought the whole cape thing. We put it together over and over and over, and I'd sit and I'd cry with them. I did this with them and everything. The only thing that comes to my mind is that the way the cover was wrapped, that's what had to look like the cape, was the way that he had the cover wrapped around him. They can think what they want, whatever about me. I never would purposely hurt Gannon or hurt anyone that I would have thought it would have been Gannon. Never in a million years, okay? Never. I had these kids all over the country. If I was going to do something like that, it would be somewhere in another country. Like, come on, like people want to kill people, do it because they want to take someone's life. That's not what happened. They paid me as this monster and I did all these crazy things. I never once knew it was Gannon. I, in fact, didn't even know it was Gannon until later on. The reason I did is because Lena, I guess the noise woke Lena up. If you read the report, Lena told you that she helped carry Gannon's body. That report in her interview, she says on that Gannon's body's not moving. That's because she was there and she helped carry Gannon's body to the car. I couldn't get him up the stairs. I didn't even know it was Gannon at that time until I moved the closer. I lose it. Like, I am all over the place, like, screaming, crying. That's how Lena hears me. Lena's helping me. Now, Harley's still asleep. She hasn't woke up to any of this. Harley's a hard sleeper. Lena helps me tote Gannon up the stairs. I'm throwing up, like, blood, the side of blood, the side of him. Like, I lived on Gannon is still alive. Gannon is barely talking. We try to get him up the steps, which we did. We take him upstairs. I'm like, all over the place. We get out the garage to go to the car. And I blink out. Because at this point, I think I was in complete and utter shock. And I know I'm throwing up because I see all this later. So when I tell you I know I'm doing something, I sit back and written a timeline and looked at everything and figured, this out because I was just on it. I remember being in the car on the passenger side and we were taking Gannon to the hospital. But I was on the passenger side, okay? Now my leg's bleeding, which if you look at the footage from the hospital, you can see where I got hit with a bullet, okay? But my leg's bleeding. And that's probably why there was a little bit of my blood on the car. I don't know at this point. I don't know if she went back in the regular party. I don't know anything because I remember waking back up in the car and being like, there's no palm trees. Now, you say, what is palm trees? In South Carolina, when you go to the hospital, and those palm trees, it's on the Grand Strand. That's why it's called Grand Strand. The beach, and then there's palm trees. I didn't see any palm trees when we were in the car, so I didn't think I was on the right road. But I was in the passenger seat, not in the driver's seat. Next thing I know, when I wake back up, I hear a loud noise, like a howling noise. Like, a loud noise. And it reminds me of, like, when my grandpa died, he made, like, this noise. That was the noise I heard when I wake back up and I'm in the garage, in the car. Now, we look at camera footage, and my car does go out 5 minutes. So leave the neighborhood. So what we put together is that it must have been when I went out in the car hearing the noise, that must have been when Gannon took his last breath, and I was still out of it. Go back in and park the car. Or come back to until Lena must have came back outside to the car. And Lena's asking what's going on, what's everything. I go in the house. Harley's face, Lena's face, they're all just like white, like they've seen a ghost. Like they don't even know what's going on. Police, like the whole world, as if this ain't really going on. Like there is no way this happened. Like there's nothing wrong, y'all. Everything's fine. He's gonna be fine. He's gonna be home. That's when I started going through like all the motions of, going to go get this person, because to me, it wasn't really going on. Like, this was, you can't even compare this to a nightmare. To have gone through that, you can't compare it to a nightmare. That is far from a nightmare. And to know that he was speaking to me and Lena as we were trying to take him off the stairwell. And then it was like, none of it was real. So I just started going into different personality of like, this ain't really going on. We got to find him. I don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I guess somehow I go on to the airport. I don't remember any of that, but I'm on footage going on to the airport. I'm on footage just talking to people and saying, like, we're going to find him. Like, I don't really, like, remember that vividly. But I know I did it because I've seen it. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't do it because it was there. Like, me talking to people, me doing it. I got just disassociated, and I was like, this is not real. That there is no way this happened. So, Edgar, another male, he's a family member, and I'm not going to say their name. Somehow during this mix, when I was like going crazy trying to go get Albert, and I was screaming at everybody, talking like it's an accident, it's an accident. I think they have one of the things reports where I was like, I didn't ever know it was Gannon because I really didn't. It was someone that came. The reason he was taller was because the bed was sitting, like, you think a twin bed. He was standing on the bed. So to me or to whoever I was, thought that was a person in a cape. That's the only reason. At all that the girl would have left. That is the only reason. And like I played this back, like I said 50 million times in my head. Like, was I in the right mind to turn the light switch on? No. My mind was in the protective mode. Because he wasn't there. The police was there. He wasn't there. Where was he at? Like, this was somebody in the house. It was probably someone trying to molest him. It was probably someone trying to hurt one of us. Add that to what I was already going through with my stepdad earlier in the day. Maria could have thought it was my stepdad. He could have thought it was anyone who was trying to hurt anyone else in the house. She's going to protect. That part of me goes in protection mode to protect everyone else around me. So there was never a moment. There's no murder. There's no hurt. There's no intent. Look, I had everything I wanted in my life. Career, this, that, you name it. There was no reason to hurt anyone in my home. I gained absolutely nothing out of hurting a child. But abuse, negativity, shit, crazy as an evil stubborn, I took care of this kid since he was 1. So like, go through that. No, I had to carry him upstairs and he was dying. I could never in a million years tell anybody what it was like. I was not okay. I was not okay before because I felt working down with someone in a cape. Like, how do you even explain that again to mom that you think it's someone in a cape? You can't. You know? But then what happened after was even worse because I never even moved again. I'm not going to incriminate anyone. The male person, I'm not going to do that. Because it wasn't any intent there to harm anybody. There was no intent for anything. I went crazy thinking I could raise him in the bed. I was driving him around the Burger King, trying to get him Happy Meals. I freaking took him back to GameStop to get that $60 game that I told you about that I told him to get earlier. That's how freaking crazy I was going. But I was like, he's going to wake up. I don't know if y'all know Andrew Womack. I tried to find Andrew Womack's house. But he brought his son back from the dead for 5 hours at Memorial. And I grew up watching the Daily Gospel. Andrew Womack. So I just kept thinking, like, God gives people power to bring them back from like this is not supposed to be happening. All you were not even believing this is even happening. That's how my mind shifts. The older male person finally at some point told my mom that I had completely lost it. Because I told you my mom came out here. My mom, brother, they were all like, you have lost it. You can't bring somebody back from the dead. They already do, but they weren't sort of, involved in something that's like, you are going crazy. You need to go to a hospital. I didn't have anything to do with body being moved. I really kept saying he has to get back to China. That's where his grandma and grandpa have a farm. brain was like, the person left me, couldn't carry him anymore. And the whole time was him to be there in South Carolina. It wasn't to be like, something else. That was the whole thing. I was not well enough to get in there. That's why the male person is the person who tampered with evidence and who tampered with body. That was not me. Not because they didn't tell you that. They know with him by weapon and did this part. I'm telling you. It was him. I started the person in the case that goes in the house. And then freaking, you think about a cape. What if about colors on a cape? Red, black. What do I think about? What was going on in my mind during the day for my stepdad? If someone was trying to molest him, someone was hurting these kids. Just going through my brain. Or I didn't even have my own handgun on me. I don't even like guns. I can't even shoot them. Not even me. Maria can shoot them. I can't shoot them. So yeah. And someone to get to hear the truth of it is like the hardest thing because people are like, oh, why didn't you turn the light on to see if someone's in a cave? What do you mean? Like I sit there and told my therapists and people that do you think I had that thought process? There was never even a thought to be like, hey, that's not even a thought I had. It is a thought is when Maria comes, it protects whoever's in this house. That's exactly what happened. There was no pain. There was no hurt. There was no ill will. There was no anger. There was no passion. I looked at every definition they have in this book because I was spent on it. None of that is right. That's not what happened. And you can't even say there's no self-defense because you need to know. I thought this was someone else. How do I know who this is? I'm not in the right mindset to decide, to make that decision. I didn't know right or wrong who this was, what I was doing. My mind goes to, there's kids in this home, there's Lena, there's Carly, and one of my kids are missing. That's the mindset. That's the truth. So, I don't know if y'all heard, read, seen, whatever, but that is 100% the truth. It was on January 28th, not January 27th. I don't know why they're all wrong.
And so you don't know how body ended up in Florida. Am I correct?
No, so, okay. So leaving, they helped me pack. So because people were going crazy in the neighborhood, they were threatening to kill me, all this. But the police allowed me to leave. They came and helped me pack. There's body cam footage of them packing the van up with my clothing and the police are there. They allowed me to leave. Okay? I'm still in that mindset of I don't know what, this can't be going on. This is worse than a nightmare. In my mind, it kept being I'm going to wake up and this is just one of these bad dreams. That's how it's been. This is not happening. There's got to be some camera pops out any moment for some show or something. I don't want to call it denial. It was more so it was not reality. That was not reality. So they helped me load the car up. There was another male person who, again, I'm not going to say their name because at the end of the day, they're still my family. He was trying to protect me and was you need to stop. You need help. You've lost your mind. And he was trying to protect me. I'm trying to protect him. I just kept saying, I'm going to Florida, and I'm going to drop myself off, and then I'm going to go to South Carolina. Because I knew that's where LaRonda and Mac lived. And I just kept yelling at them. LaRonda and Mac live there. I got to go talk to them. And I know this only through their interviews, what they've said to my people. I just kept yelling, got to get to LaRonda and Mac. somewhere in my brain, I guess it recognized Loandra back or, you know, to my parents, his mom, dad. And like, oh, those are the only people that ever helped me. So like, some part of my brain was like, just kept that I gotta talk to them, I gotta talk to them, I gotta talk to them, you know. So I get in the car. I don't remember really driving. Like they have me on stores where I go and stores to buy stuff and I swear upon my breath, I don't even remember going to these stores. I'm not even a driver to ride on planes. So for me to even be in a car that long, that's how much I was out of this world. And then at some point in time, I'm supposed to like meet them and they call me and they're like, you're losing your mind. We're not going any further. We're not going to South Carolina. I could not pick them up. Very tense. Because my mindset kept saying, I'm taking him to South Carolina to his grandparents' farm so he could have a proper burial. Because if he would have been buried, like, if Robert would have had control of it in Colorado, he would have never, like want to be involved in anything. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I just kept saying, let's go to Loandra Max. They can make a good decision. If they don't know what to do, they can help me bring you back to life. That's when the mill person intervened and kept saying, you're losing your mind. You can't bring somebody back from the dead. And I have to protect them, too, because I'm not going to go out saying their name. Common sense, you can put two and two together, the mill figures that were here, but you never hear it out of my mouth. At the end of the day, two. And he was just trying to, like, figure out why I was going crazy and help me at the same time figure out, like, this is really reality, what's going on. But that was the only reason he ended up in Florida, because when they left me, he never wrote, like, his body was never with me, his body was never in the car. They pulled the whole van apart and seen that there was no DNA evidence at all. And then that's because he was never in the van that I drove on myself. Never. Ever. It wasn't until I get to Florida and I'm trying to be telling everybody, like, we have to bring you back to life, Loandra can help. Those individuals who flew on an airplane and went to Florida after they got off the airplane, listen, I could not pick them up to carry him anymore. That is the only reason. Or else, I don't know. My investigators have asked me, what was your plan? Were you just going to pull up at the farm in South Carolina? And I said, I didn't have a plan. There was, in my mind, that's probably what I was trying to think about doing, is getting to Loandra Max, but like, there was never a plan. Like, I don't know if I was going to pull up there and, you know, lose my mind, tell them what had happened. I didn't know. I just knew running has been part of my life. So running always makes things disappear. Like, it's not real. So I was under the impression that this was all just a nightmare, that as soon as I got away from this, I was just going to snap back into it, and this was not what happened. But it never happened that way. Then I started, like, when I was in South Carolina, I was telling people crazy stuff. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I just kept saying to people, it's not what you think, this is not what happened, he's going to come back to life. And, like, all my friends in South Carolina kept being like, what do you mean he's not going to come back? He's going to come back to life. What is going on? And I know by this point, I'm no medical professional. But I know for a fact that I was in a form of psychosis. Because I never in my life have been through hallucinations. I never in my life have been through the things I was going through to explain that. To think that there was a person in the cave. To think that this person was harming somebody. Never had been that hype. And it caused me the ruining. It's not about me. It's Landon's life. Luna's life. Harley's life. Like, I don't know. One decision that wasn't even right. Every single day. So yeah, to me, sometimes I do check in our reality. They're like, this ain't real. Be back. And with all my heart, I took care of him. Oh, literally gave him enema. Freaking took him to school. Did schoolwork. Did everything. What? If anything, You know, I've lost the last 2 years. Great single. Then people make up these things about stab marks. It's not stab marks. Those were from the fire. I've looked at the autopsy report to the point that I've memorized it. They say like 1.2 centimeters, 1.4. We're talking centimeters. That's from the fire. I don't care what they say. There was never anybody doing anything, slicing, dashing, whatever the hell the news puts on there. And that's not true. There were marks in the fire, which was exactly what I told them. They were on the arms and chest. Just what I told them when I was going through these stories and my brain was so convoluted. It all went together. And I was talking about the rape. I was talking about the garage. I was talking about marks. I was talking about the bleeding. Like, I was such like shocked that all of it went together in these crazy. It was almost like I was talking my word salad all over the place. Nothing was coherent with any of those things. Didn't really understand what was going on. That ain't no approach that people take to get out of crimes. I've never been a felon. I've never been that. You don't just wake up one day and decide to start murdering people. It's because it was not meant to be. Even missing, everything in my mind was bad. I was raping him, she was lesbian, she was gun here, she was gun there. I watched this body cam footage so much that like everybody's like, well, where was he at that night? They opened the one closet with the ornaments and stuff. I swear to you, I see it move. I see it move with the cover. And I'm telling everybody on my team, I'm like, y'all don't see that. Y'all don't see that. That's where he was hiding at. That's where he was at the whole night of the 27th. How did that guy miss him? How did he come in there with freaking body cams, trained to find people, trained at kids hiding, trained at that, and miss that? How? That's why I go back and forth with every single day. How? Because had he not blaming this on him, because God knows I would never blame them, someone else like that. Had he done that, the outcome probably be different. Yeah, absolutely. I am supposed to know that it's not some person in the house getting ready to take another kid, hurt me, hurt her. That real things like that, she doesn't think rational. She doesn't think let's do this the right way. She thinks I'm about to hurt anybody that's about to hurt the people I love. Wow. Heart is pain like you just don't know how bad I just do want to sit down with my hand. I can't change my mental state. But you gotta know in your heart it was not her kid. I didn't go my whole life teaching kids. Never heard, like, I have no history of anything. Like, even the FBI testified on the stand and the prelim was like, there's no history of any kind of abuse. She did not abuse these kids. Save their life. Because I was the one that always came to rescue them for everything. And now I don't even get to like even tell Lena goodbye. I don't get to say anything. And they have to, she has to think that the world I heard her brother, like, come on. Like, oh, But I looked at the autopsy report and it said, like, within the jaw, but it was, like, far away. But I always, like, try to sit there with them, try to piece together any of these pieces I'm missing. Like, what point am I missing this part? I'm missing this part. Everything is, like, the evidence is all consistent. But you're going to get, listen, if you're going to kill somebody, you don't shoot them in the jaw. Murderers kill people. Most female people who kill people are psychopaths and they poison people and they do all these harm. Not even knowing it's them and they hit them in the jaw. And they paint it as this murder. Or like some children, like, come on. Never had a scratch on their body. Ever in their life. Ever. So this is happening. And trying to get these people to like understand that is the hardest thing ever. Because I did not, maybe if I hadn't been going through it, I was going through the day thinking my stepdad was still alive. Maybe it's like trying to replay everything. Maybe it's like I wasn't worried about these people not letting stay home that day. You know, maybe you wouldn't have left because I thought the whole car situation, people trying to follow me from the stupid car accident thing, like, and I tried thinking that might have switched, that might have kept me from being at the state I was in. And then they like painted this whole thing about cleaning supplies. If you guys have seen the receipt, the carpet. I mean, I've memorized the receipts. It's trash bags, carpet powder, candy, nothing in there ever sent anyone to get cleaning supplies. Pull up the receipt all day long. And say it. It's not true. I
can understand it's a lot. It's been a very long day. We'll probably be stopping here at this point in time. We might
you guys hear like a lot of like stuff getting known to like what people do and stuff. Whatever you do, you just don't ever take the whole mindset these people took. You won't ever find it in my history. Ever. You said ever. Nothing like that comes to children.
I can appreciate you all for that.
Yeah.
Worked pretty hard to consider all of the
Remember to say a lot, but I don't deserve this. At all. Some people will just be like, oh, I have nothing to do with it or none. From the beginning, I got in and out of it at CJC in the beginning, and I kept being like, this is not real. But at some point, it hits you. You're like, okay, no, those cameras aren't coming out. No, this is really going on. And people just got to see me, and they're like, wait a minute, something right. Like, you are like, always you follow rules. You don't do this. You don't do that. Like, just don't make any sense. And so I know last time you guys know that they were like, I was part of the jail, but like once they got to know that that's not who I am, things got easy. Like they weren't, I say easy, but you know what I mean? Like they didn't think of me like, of how this is. They started more and more being like, there's something we're missing. And I always just feel like you just have no idea what is actually missing from them. It's not because someone, that's not true. Whether you want to call it that on paper, that's on I it. There's 100% no determination. Me not turning the light switch on or turning it on, off, on. Me determining who was there, who was not, caper, under the cape or not. There was no determination of black after that. And I've read that, every part of that book I told you I read it. There was no determining of black because in the reason these kids in this house, they need to be protected. So that, like, whether he was alive that day or not alive that day, I still struggle with that. Like, I'll still get to jail, like, thinking he's there, having these nightmares, or whatever. And I'm like, I don't even know when this will stop. Like, I didn't know when it ever stop. Like, he's doing those things. Around dark, Charlie comes home. We go to stuff we're supposed to get or whatever. And at some point, we were going to go eat sushi. That's when we started. Go to bed. Friday, maybe 5, 6 p.m. or whatever. So then we started looking for Gannon. One was text Albert. I don't have any of the contact numbers of anybody that was there. So please come out, which was not till I thought must have lost track of time, but I was just confused because he was doing the 5-day challenge. We would pull out hiding by dark because we would have to eat dinner and stuff. He just wasn't there. So I was just so confused. Like, I know him well enough to know he was going to be dinner. So that's why I didn't get worried until when it got really, really dark. Because at that point in time, I'm like, hold on. But then it was raining outside. Leaving. Wasn't sure why maybe didn't walk home. So we tried to go find him. But that's when we called the police. The police showed up, which would have been hours late. But they know I never left the house. So the cops came out, looked around the house, they did interviews. Just because I couldn't figure out where this hiding spot was at. Because when we did this, whenever all the YouTube challenge rules, we went over, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't hide in certain spots that you can't breathe, or don't, you know, you put yourself in a bind. And the kids had their own YouTube channel, so they did this when they went to their moms too. No. it almost felt like this wasn't really going on because I'm like, okay, now how in the world did you hide? And the cops have came in here. They're looking for you. They're looking through the house. They went in the cars. They were like, "You go in the cars." I gave them permission to go to the house. Or anything out of order. They walked in every room. Anything out of order. Anything here. Anything there. Because nothing happened. Nothing's out of order. So that's when I just started being like, okay, so where's this hiding spot? I thought at the time maybe it was just like at a friend's house. And my friend knows that guy. Had people going to that junior kid's house or whatever. So it gets dark and we're all just sitting there like trying to figure out what's going on. I was in a little bit of a shock because it wasn't like if this would have been like, like we went to a person's house, those are strangers or whatever, then it would I'd have been like it wouldn't have shocked me then. But it being again and when a stranger's house, that would have shocked me too. So I didn't really figure out why. So please come back out to check on me because that's when I started panicking. Albert sends the police back to check on me. That was late night, like 11. So please come back to check on me, and I'm just in a panic at that point in time. And he's like, "Well, we're going to put people all around the house." There was like. And this had been going on hours of searching the house. We're all upstairs because I told Harley and Lena to sleep upstairs with me because I didn't want them downstairs. I wanted them in my side. But I remember going on the sofa. I don't know how long it was. I was sitting on the sofa. I kept hearing knocking sounds. Well, if you ask for like the one footage of where my car just goes out the driveway and comes back in or whatever, that would have been around the time of the knocking sounds like what we did together. And that was that time we did together. So I heard the knocking sounds and I kept trying to figure out was there someone at the door because I thought they were trying to if I had walked out to the garage to leave at some point. But then if they'd been knocking on my door, on my window, who would have known that was our bedroom window? Like, why were they trying to get me to go outside? I just kept going up and down the stairs, going in the room checking. One of the times I fell down the stairs, that's how my blood got on the stairs because I would like hit my head with socks on running downstairs or whatever. That's how my blood got on the stairs or whatever. Kept hearing knocking, I kept going and searching, I kept asking girls, they hear that. Then Kai's dad came by. We're still coming during the night, like during the late night or whatever. At some point I remember laying back on the sofa and just kind of like dazing out for a while because honestly I thought this was all just like from the nightmare I was talking about. But then, hear noise, I run down the stairs. I don't know exactly how. So my handgun was inside a car. I had already, like, earlier, like, is this your handgun? Yes, I told him, no, be careful, there's a handgun in the car, like, all that stuff. So, I don't know if he had the possession. I got possession of them. I don't know what. At some point, somehow, I saw come across the vision down the stairs. It's like someone in the shadow. I seen a shadow going across. I ran back up the stairs, started freaking out, and then came down the stairs. There's a shadow, there's some moving object, body moving in the house or whatever. Then I didn't hear anything. I heard a loud noise when I was back upstairs. If you've seen the views of the house, there was top floor, bottom floor. So I was going up and down trying to figure out, where these noises were coming from. So I heard the loud noise upstairs. And his room was my room. So when I was in my room, I heard it again. At some point in time, either I grabbed it from Edgar and it moved like someone in a cave. Or before. I would have my stepdad used to wear these are you familiar if you're familiar with like the Native American culture? They wear these like regalia things. He had this whole red and black thing because dad sure killed his mom. And it was like someone in red and black. I don't even know how quickly it happened. I just kept hearing Ecclesiastes 3:3 in my head. Ecclesiastes 3:3, Ecclesiastes 3:3. I'm still, because obviously my stepdad, when he died, he got carried 602 feet in the car. He got hit and died. My phone's ran off the road. I'm sure it was fast. But that was just what it kept saying. I had to make it fast. Ecclesiastes 3:3. I don't know how long had transpired after that. But when I came back through, Lena was freaking out. She was just standing there. I don't know what I said to her. But then she tried to help me take Anna upstairs. Take him to the hospital. If you look at Lanie's report, you'll see she talked about trying to help carry Anna. We just had her days all running together because so it was very traumatic for her too. But when we tried to take Anna to the hospital, to the car, to go outside, I don't know how long I was sitting in my car. I just was in the passenger side. Like I was in and out. One minute I could see myself in the passenger side. Next minute I couldn't figure out who was driving the car. And I didn't see palm trees when we tried to pull out. And that's why I think I must have thought I was in Carolina because there's palm trees going to the hospital. If you've ever seen a picture of like how like Rodeo Drive goes down with palm trees, that's exactly how it looks in Carolina. Then you go down to the beach and there's Grand Strand Hospital there, which I've been to many a times. Yeah, that's Grand Strand. Then on, I think I was just completely shocked because I was trying to like get a better life. Because if you think about it, like there's a lot it went on in the Bible where Jesus was able to Jairus' daughter bring her back to life. Many situations where he gave his disciples the ability to bring people back to life. I know at some point in time during that, Maria felt a threat with what she does. Child molesters, someone who hurts children, someone who rapes women, not to mention what was going on in the garage. That's the way she protects me. Eliminate the threat. But once me and Lena are sitting there trying to go to the hospital, like, I'm realizing, like, what is going on. Road kicked in of the I tried to get them through. We went at the GameStop. They tried to get the footage from GameStop. I don't know if they got it or not, but I was trying to get in the game. I already told him he was going to get it for $60. Edgar was with me during that time, but I don't know where he went during that time. Well, going back through, and I was sitting in the car again on the passenger side. I go back in the house, and everybody's just like Lena's like white, like a ghost, like she's seen a ghost. Just kept telling everybody he's going to be okay, he's going to be fine, and they're just asking me questions like, where is Gannon at? He's going to be fine. You know, find him. Because I didn't. What had happened during that traumatic experience, I wasn't real to. You gotta imagine if you were just somewhere and all of a sudden you're trying to bring somebody back to life, and then now you don't know where he's at, and you're telling everybody it'll be okay. Coherence, oh, yeah. A little bit of coherency, a gap. As you can see, if you look at the evidence from then on, it just spiraled. Telling people about getting me. What was going on? Because I was trying to piece together what had really happened. You know. At some point, I know it was Maria telling them how Mike was dead. That was what she would have done. Eliminated someone through the molestation. So the stories that are on the evidence are all over the place because I really didn't know how to put together the pieces. I had time memories here and time lapses there, and then visions here, visions there. 1 minute I was in Carolina, 1 minute I wasn't. And then I thought it was just a nightmare I was going to wake up from. I thought there was going to be cameras just pop out. Like one horrible, cruel joke, you know. Talking in like word salads. Talking like this, that. Googling going to Disney World. And like, so I have no idea I even done that. I have no idea what I was talking about. Talking about like the evidence somewhere it has searched on my phone. I think it was like February or January or something. So I'm trying to find what to do and go get shot and went to shock. Like I don't even remember even putting any of that stuff in any of the searches, but all of the things that had happened over my life just all I was in the one, in and out, doing this, doing